This episode of I Work for Him is brought to you by SaferNet, online at safernet.com.
Every day in America, more than 3,000 ministries are serving workplace believers by discipling Christ followers to live out their faith in their work. However, most of these organizations are working on their own, often recreating the wheel from their limited resources because they don't know there are others out there doing exactly the same thing.
I Work for Him has a vision to document the tapestry of the faith and work movement to enable and facilitate selfless kingdom collaboration across the country and bring harmony to the body of Christ in the workplace.
For more than a decade, God has been weaving the stories of workplace believers and the work of so many faith and work ministries into I Work for Him. He's been entwining us with these organizations so that you, too, can be a part of this great tapestry.
He's been connecting us in order to connect you.
Just like a tapestry, the work is sometimes messy and takes time. But in the end, a beautiful, unified picture emerges, more incredible than we could ever imagine. Please be a part of that mission. You've tuned into I Work for Him, the voice of collaboration for the faith and work movement.
We are your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg, and our mission is to inspire every workplace believer to recognize their workplace as their ministry place where they work with God every day. What can that look like in your workplace? Well, let's find out right now.
12 years ago, Martha and I helped launch the Christian Chamber of Commerce, Tampa Bay. Why did we do it? Well, we knew that Jesus-following, marketplace-focused believers needed camaraderie. They needed a place to be encouraged, challenged, empowered, and sent. All in 90 minutes a month or less. C3TB.org still exists today, and in addition, there are now over 20 other local Christian chambers around the country, with more being added every month, like the one starting up in Minneapolis very soon for all my Minnesota friends. In 2020, it was realized that a national Christian chamber was needed, and in 2022, the U.S. Christian Chamber was launched, and Martha and I are thrilled to be founding members. Launched to bring all the local Christian chambers together and launched as a major influencer of marketplace-focused believers all over the country. In 2024, we had our first National Chamber Expo with another one coming in 2026. Hundreds of people have joined nationally, with the numbers growing every week. So what is this U.S. Christian Chamber all about? And who did God choose it to lead it out of the gate? Well, Krystal Parker is here today to join us and have this conversation about why should I join a Christian chamber? Or why should I start a Christian chamber? And where is the power in it? Krystal Parker, welcome back to I Work for Him.
Wow, what an introduction. I'm so glad to be back with you guys. And you're also part of the U.S. Christian Chamber on the board, and just significant impact you're having with us and strategically moving the chamber forward. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Well, thank you for inviting us into the process, because it's been exciting to watch as it's grown. And I'm excited to talk about it today, Krystal. But let's start the conversation with in your career, you were an oil company executive. So what are you doing running the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce?
I was just getting my training wheels, I think, to prepare me for what I get to do today. So that's really what I'm doing here is really fulfilling the purpose that God put on my life. I just had to build some of that business knowledge, and it was a Fortune 200 company, and it was publicly traded. So I got to understand the difference in cost centers and how to, put the finances in a way that made sense for growth. And so all of those things the Lord gave to me to prepare me for today.
Okay, so the training wheels. Okay, but give us some specific examples of things that God had you do in the oil industry that specifically worked. Like, I learned this skill there, and I'm using it every day here as part of the U.S. Christian Chamber. What are some of those things that you learned that you've seen application of?
Well, resilience. And that was one of the big ones, because I started there as a college dropout, and I was stocking shelves in a truck parts store as and it was a subsidiary of the oil and gas company. And so really strategically just working and growing and being resilient and evolving as a leader and just growing every single day. So I think that resilience and growth is a big part of what's got me here and kept me here. As your listeners know and you guys know, entrepreneurship is difficult, and it's really hard to launch a company or start up a new company. And so being able to fail fast and adapt and be resilient, I think are some of the things we're using every single day.
Well, it's not that you're just launching a company, you're launching a national company. I mean, you're launching a national influencer. So it's not just, I'm launching a company in Orlando, Florida. No, I'm launching a national influencer. I mean, that's a big deal. Why do you think God pulled you out of oil and gas and placed you in a challenging startup? Because starting up the U.S. Christian Chamber has not been easy.
I sometimes wonder why God chose me, but I also understand that he prepared me. And I think the biggest thing in the calling on my life has really came from just even being a young child. I always had to work really hard at school, and people skills came easy, but the book work was hard for me. And so I had to really learn discipline to be able to not get grounded all the time, which I was anyways. But I think,
I am shocked. You are grounded all the time?
I would literally get ungrounded and regrounded. I'm not getting the summer of my senior year in the car that I purchased. I got grounded right before I went to college. Okay. So I was grounded all the time. I always pushed the limits, that's for sure. And so anyways, but I grew up as a Sunday Christian. And so that just basically means I had 52 hours a year of Christian teaching. And I thought that made me a Christian and a follower of Jesus Christ. And so, anyways, so I carried that into the workplace with me. And as a leader, growing up in an organization and then having great influence, I think the team that I led was around 400 employees, union and non-union. And I called myself a Christian, but there was no fruit around me. And nobody ever came up and asked me, what's different about you? And I want to know what's different and why you are the way you are. If anything, I did more damage than I did good for people and for people wanting to know about Christ. And once I fully surrendered my life to Christ, head and heart, and had a relationship with him, I wanted to dedicate my work as worship. I wanted to do business for kingdom. And I think that prayer on my face of just asking God, I know you're not done with me. What can I do to serve you? And I never want to do it separate from you. I think he used all the business skills and my heart for business to go and serve him in a different way.
And that's so good because it's your testimony. It's what God wrote on your heart and truly changed the way you wanted to look at work for his glory. And God's using that in the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but because I really want to delve into the idea of not just kingdom, but kingdom commerce. But we'll do that in a minute. I want to talk about just chambering because, maybe people have heard about the Chamber of Commerce in their town. Maybe they've been involved or not been involved. Talk to us about chambering and then what U.S. Christian chambering brings to the table for people and the power that's behind that.
I think most people are familiar with chambers of commerce. Hundreds of years. It's an incredible business model, literally in the community for business owners to come together to, get exposure for what they're doing, to really become a resource for one another, but also impact their communities in a number of ways. And actually, it's funny, the first board I ever sat on was 34 years old, and it was the board for the El Paso Chamber of Commerce, which is really funny. Yeah. And so I knew the power of chambers of commerce because we were always a part of it through the gas company, local and even our corporate offices. So fast forward to when we decided to launch U.S. Christian Chamber. At that time, it was a very polarized climate for Christians. I mean, we see it now with Donald Trump at the prayer breakfast talking about anti-Christian behavior, if you will. There's actually groups of people that are going to be focused on making sure that Christians are not being discriminated against. So I'm very thankful for that. At the time, we were being discriminated against, and we still will. This is just a federal initiative. We need to really anchor this and cauterize this at the state level and in our local communities and cities as well. So our work's not done, but we have a place. Yeah, we're not done, but we need to have a place where it's safe for Christians to do business together, to access resources that have a biblical worldview. The worldview is very different than a biblical worldview. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that understand that, no, hey, I want more of those types of resources. Iron sharpens iron. So we want to create a space for Christians in their communities to come together, to do business together, to grow their business together, and to impact their communities in a way for kingdom advancement and kingdom enhancement within their communities.
And it's so much, and really it's about influence as well. And that's what I love about Chambers. You know, we can all have influence in the marketplace, but when we have a data breach or a virus on our computers, it can sure take us off course. At iWorkFrame, we trust SaferNet to protect all of our devices, including our phones and our iPad, through the use of the SaferNet software. Its dashboard allows us to control what's happening behind the scenes and keep disruptions away. Their VPN, website filters, and many other features help keep our eyes fixed on the mission God has given us, while SaferNet keeps their eyes on the disruptors. Go to safernet.com and mention that you heard them on iWorkFrame and start protecting all of your devices today. Krystal, before the expo we had last April in Orlando, the first Kingdom World Expo, many of us authors contributed to a phenomenal book called Kingdom Commerce. Why don't you talk about the subject matter in this book?
Well, the subject matter is really a bunch of CEOs, business leaders, kingdom business owners, really looking to impact culture through faith at work, and telling stories about their own examples and situations of where they were maybe at a stopping place where they had to just hit their knees and cry out to God, or missed opportunities of being able to really pray for somebody in the marketplace and the impact that had. I mean, this story is just full of encouragement, insight, and new ways to think about doing business is in that book of Kingdom Commerce. And it really set the stage for our expo. That Kingdom World Business Expo takeover was really founded on several of the principles that are in that book that you'll be able to identify. And one of them, it's a big part of who we are as Christian business owners, is identity. So there's some work in there on identity and several other key factors.
You know, you said earlier about Christian Chambers being a safe place for business owners to conduct business. But I even, also believe that it's just a place where we really can unapologetically be all that God created us to be. I think a lot of people, Krystal, and I want you to talk about this, is for some reason, Christians have this mindset that we then can't be profitable, that we can't focus on the commerce side of it. But yet God didn't put us in business to lose money, right? Or to have a different way. I mean, talk about that. What is the significance of kingdom commerce?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so tired of people thinking because it's Christian, it's got to be broke, small, less than. That is not the God we serve.
No.
And so, but what's happened is Christians have separated their work from God, and they're only operating on half. And when you bring in the Holy Spirit into your business, you'll see excellence. You'll know the fruit of a business that has integrated Christ in everything that they do. It's beyond excellent. And that is part of kingdom commerce. The other part of kingdom commerce is really being intentional about doing business with Christians.
Right.
People will drive past a Christian printer to go to somewhere, another printer, Why do they do that? Well, maybe because they didn't know that that printer was a Christian business, or maybe they're used to buying from somebody else, or maybe that person gives better service. We don't know what that is, but we will never know unless we have a place to find where those Christians are in business. Perfect example. San Diego Christian Chamber just launched a couple of weeks ago, their big launch. And they served over 120 businesses. They had to shut off registration. They had the staff carrying in tables and chairs. And this is in San Diego, California. Well, Eve Nasby's the founder. She came to the conference, and it was amazing. When she went back, she's like, I'm going to be intentional about doing business with Christians. So she got behind her computer and she searched for Christian businesses to do business with. She couldn't find but one plumber. She says, if we don't know who the Christian businesses are here in California and San Diego, how can we change how we do business? And so she's got behind that mission, launched the Christian Chamber there, and is off to a smashing start.
You know, I was going to say, so I love the fact that you're encouraging Christians to do business with Christians, but I encourage Christian business owners to not hire believers, because they can use their platform to reach people for Christ, to actually be that living example. Why is it important for Christians to do business with other Christians, but yet hire unbelievers?
Well, okay. So I love this question, and I see the T that the ball is on for me here. So it's really important to hire the great fit. Aligned values is always nice, but like what our President Trump right now is all about merit, and we want to hire the best employees. And sometimes the best employees don't know the Lord, but they have an opportunity through coming into your company to get a message of Jesus Christ. And just like when I was running the gas companies, I was running it, as I said, Christian, but I didn't have those values, and I wasn't walking the talk. When you walk the talk in business and you really bring Christ into your company, it doesn't mean you're a pushover. It doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean you're not running an excellent company. What it does mean, though, is people are going to want to know what's different about you. I really like working for this company. And then they're going to start asking questions. When they ask those questions, be ready to share your testimony. And when you share that testimony, you're opening the gateway and the door for somebody to get to know Jesus. Yeah. Many people would not know, have a chance or ever step foot in a church. Mm-hmm. But when they see and experience Jesus in the marketplace, they start to want to know more about him. And that's really love.
Well, and so that's a great reason why you hire unbelievers. But let's talk about, why are we keeping the money inside the Christian community? Because to me, it seems like we need to do business with other Christian business owners, because those Christian business owners are very intentional with how they reinvest that money in the community. And you want to keep that money be invested in things that we believe in. So in other words, we don't want to do business with a company that's supporting Planned Parenthood or supporting, anti-marriage kind of things. We want to invest in companies that are supporting the pregnancy center and that are supporting marriage retreats, or, between husbands and wives. What are some of the other reasons why we want to do business with other believers who are running businesses?
Yeah, we've got to take back the mountain of economics. We've lost it. And a lot of that is through ignorance, because people think, well, I'm going to do business with a company, even though the values aren't aligned, or I don't know what their values are. And then that's a leak in the boat. That's a leak for kingdom economics. And when people start to be intentional about doing business with Christian businesses that share their values, you start to see that money flow into the community, into initiatives and other things that support our values. Yeah. And we wonder, for example, a perfect example of this, in Florida, there was a thing called the vote no on Florida. There was a bill that came out basically saying that they were going to take abortions up to full term, just some terrible things they wanted to flip around. They spent $120 million to get this issue on the ballot in Florida. Now, wouldn't we, and it did not pass, thank God it did in other states, but wouldn't we feel bad If we could trace back every single dollar that they had spent just in Florida of the 120 million and find out if any one of us contributed to that indirectly.
Right.
And that's why we're saying we've got to take back the mountain of economics for kingdom economics.
Well, and it's really knowing what you're doing with your dollars. And I think there's a couple things that I want to clarify so that people don't hear wrong. Number one, we're not saying that if you're a Christian business, you're necessarily going to be profitable. You know, there are ups and downs in business. Bad choices are made that we don't sometimes know about, suppliers or whatever happens to, you know, when COVID hit, like nobody could have predicted that, you know, the effects it might have had. So it's, you know, it's not a guarantee that we're going to be a successful, profitable company. But if we can support each other and encourage each other and challenge each other, but be providing an excellent service or excellent business. I am not going to do business with you just because you're a Christian. I also want you to deliver. I expect you to be of integrity, and I expect you to, you know, actually do what you say you're going to do. And if you can't, be honest with me about it. So I think it's important to clarify that, because it's not, you know, one of the things that Jim and I early on in our testimony was we did business with some Christians that burned us badly, and that is a terrible situation to be in, because then you're like, I don't want to do business with Christians. So we're really trying to encourage each other to change the tide. And the U.S. Christian Chamber is just one way to identify who those people are that want to align and do their business and be held accountable to the to the biblical worldview. So I think it's important to clarify that. So Krystal, tell us about the expansion of what's happening with Christian chambers locally. Like people, I know, like you just talked about San Diego. I mean, she literally was at the expo in April going, oh, maybe God's calling me to do something. And here we are, less, you know, not even a year later, and it's launched out there. But tell us about some of those things that are happening locally for people.
Yeah, it's funny too, because she says, I don't even know how I got on your email distribution. I just got an email one day inviting me to the expo. She said, I have no clue how that even happened. So it was just funny, that story.
It's God.
It's God, totally. Well, we've got a lot of work happening in Arizona right now. We're looking really at state model to local. And so Mina Carlson and David are out there working hard to launch Arizona. We've seen just some incredible things. We just brought the press release isn't even out. It's going out today on this one. But San Antonio, Texas, that's a Christian Chamber of Commerce. They just joined the coalition. And so We're just so excited how Christian chambers are coming together to work together in unity to really, what Ford Taylor says, rebrand Christianity in the marketplace.
And I know I read somewhere about Minneapolis. Has that one started yet, or is that one still in the works?
They're in the works of the model. So the model came together in Central Florida. That's your largest local Christian chamber right now. And that model is being duplicated all over the U.S. And we contacted by Zambia yesterday, and they were interested.
That's a country on the continent of Africa.
Yes, Africa, correct. Not the United States, Zambia. But yes, they were interested in taking this model and putting it into to their local community. And the great thing is we were able to connect them with International Christian Chamber.
That's so good. You know, Krystal, you did mention at the beginning of the show that Jim and I do have the pleasure of sitting on the board of directors for the U.S. Christian Chamber. And we really believe that God gives each of us opportunities to advance the kingdom. And right now, that's just one of the ways that we are getting to do that is by serving on the board. And if I were to ask each listener what God is calling you to do right now, I wonder if you know the answer. And I just want to point you towards the I Work for Him Nation Covenant. It's a way that it can help and guide you and give you direction in your workplace. So check it out online, iworkforhim.com/join the nation, and ask God to show you what your next steps might be.
All right, Krystal, as we close out the show here, I got a couple of things I want to make sure I talk about. There's 55 million. Okay, before COVID, I haven't checked this number in the last couple of years, but before COVID, there were 55 million workplace believers. And over half of them, their jobs are in the marketplace. The other half are in government or education or maybe healthcare. And most of those people don't see themselves as part of the marketplace, even though they're active in the marketplace shopping all the time. 55 million believers. Why aren't we making a bigger impact on this country?
I think that many of those believers have been told a lie. That's exactly what Satan wants them to believe, is a couple of things. Number one lie is that you have to keep these two separate. Your faith and your work are two different things. And we've been taught, even at an early age, you put your work hat on and you go to work, and then you take it off when you leave. And that's not true. And number two lie that I think they've been told and believe, and I've heard this come up many times, is that if you openly declare that you're a follower of Jesus Christ in your business, you're going to lose business. And that is a lie. That is not true. And then we could even go to the third one, and Martha touched on it, and it's that I've been burned by Christians, and so I'm just not even going to say I'm a Christian, because there's wolves in sheep's clothing. And so I think that's been part of what's been ingrained into our society and to these business owners.
How do you think the U.S. Christian Chamber is going to shift that tide?
We're going to change the tide because we're going to make it cool to be Christian in the marketplace. And we're going to show you how iron can sharpen iron. And we're going to, we only want the best businesses in the chambers. So if you want to operate small or mediocre, just don't even consider coming into the chambers unless you want to get to excellent. Because we really want to show what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus Christ in the marketplace and really shine excellence in business. And that in itself is attractive. And people will start to say, wow, I can do that. I'm going to do that. And then on top of that, we have a responsibility, folks, Christians that are out there operating in two separate ways, one in church, one at home. We have a responsibility. We are called, all of us, you do not have to wear pastor for this, to be a disciple in the marketplace. We are all fishers of men. And so if you really want to learn how to do that, come into a Christian chamber. We really are helping people understand how they can really use their business as ministry.
You know, I just was thinking about the fact of the timing, God's timing in launching the U.S. Christian Chamber, and the fact that, you know, COVID gave us the opportunity to learn that we could have community virtually. And you do that so well through the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. And I think a lot of people may be wondering, like, well, what does that even mean? It may be, you know, for us, like visually people see it's a stamp on our website, you know, that we're members, we have the plaque on the wall. But it's so much more than that, because we have a virtual community that has well, Krystal, tell people what all is out there, just because I think they need to see that perspective. Like, how do I actually glean from the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce?
Well, that we serve people who either do not have a local Christian chamber in their community, or we also serve people who are looking for national exposure for their business. And we have a number of different ways to help people connect and grow their business, make relationships, and really grow in their influence through what they're doing, whatever it is that God's called them to do. And we do that through this really cool event that we have. It's called The Exchange, and it's 1 hour of networking. And that's been a very popular event that we do in the chamber. The great thing is people have snow on the ground, and they never even have to leave their house. They get 30, 40 leads right there in just a very short amount of time. We have Christian business education every month, and it's a live webinar. We're not pushing content. We really want to hear your questions and really create some connections for people through those events. Mm-hmm. And then we have an online community that is something we're really excited about that we've rolled out here in 2025. And it's an opportunity and a place for people to connect online through their membership. And we're also growing these Christian chambers Christian businesses within this technology platform. So even though you're part of U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce, you might connect with somebody at Coastal Virginia Christian Chamber of Commerce through this online platform. So many ways to connect and grow.
Mm-hmm. And of course, in 2026, the Kingdom World Expo. Do you have dates yet?
I do not have dates.
Okay,
we do have a place on our website where you can click and see our hype video and even take a stroll back for the last couple of expos that we've put on. And please just click that button there to sign up to be the first to know about these tickets.
Awesome.
Absolutely one of the greatest business events we've ever had a chance to be a part of. Wow. Was phenomenal. Can't wait till 2026. Krystal, is there anything else you want to say to our audience about why should they be chambering? Why they should join right now the U.S. Christian Chamber?
Well, you should join the Christian Chamber because this really is a movement through the marketplace. If you want to be a part of something bigger than where you are right now, or maybe just impacting your business, but you really want to be a part of something that really God's calling for through the marketplace, that's why you should join. There's a lot of eternal fruit here, not just for you, but for your employees, for your business, whatever it is that you're looking for. I really believe that the model of the Christian Chamber, the caliber of people that we have involved in this mission, in one way or another, I can't say for you because I really believe in divine connections and the right time, but in one way or another, have a real opportunity to impact your life in a very special way.
Online at uschristianchamber.com, uschristianchamber.com. Thank you, Krystal Parker.
Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to I Work For Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg. We're Christ followers. Our workplace, it's our mission field, but ultimately, I work for Him.
This episode of I Work For Him is brought to you by SaferNet, online at safernet.com. My Windows computer updates security every few days. Is it enough? Stay ahead of cyber threats with SaferNet VPN. For businesses seeking top-notch security without complexity, we've got you covered. Plus, protect your family with powerful internet filters. Experience the ease of cybersecurity with SaferNet VPN. Join us in creating a safer online environment by getting secured now. Sign up at safernet.com. That's safernet.com.
Did you know that God has a calling on your life? It's true. He's called you to bring Jesus to the world. For some, that may look like a pulpit or a foreign mission field, but for most of us, it looks like a construction site, a cubicle, a hospital, or a classroom. Wherever it is that you work, live, volunteer, and invest, that is your mission field. To learn more about integrating your faith into your work and retirement, check out our books, I Work For Him, She Works For Him, and I Retire For Him, by going to iworkforhim.com/bookstore.
Thanks for listening to the I Work For Him podcast with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg. Please visit iworkforhim.com to learn more about connecting your faith and work, to join the I Work For Him Nation, or subscribe to our weekly blog. You can also follow us on social media at I Work For Him to stay up to date and meet our guests. If today's message spoke to you, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. Your review will launch more workplace missionaries across America. That's at I Work For Him and online at iworkforhim.com. I work, the number 4, him.com.